Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today on managing assets and equipment with Office 365 Teams and SharePoint. We'll be going through three scenarios. One is a distribution company that has a dispersed workforce. Another is a nuclear power plant that has very critical demands on their asset management. And the third is a retirement homes in Australia who have to meet new legislative mandates for tracking their assets and equipment. So I'll go each of those today. A lot to cover. We'll get going right away. But before we get going, I wanted to mention that there is a questions box in the webinar screen. You're welcome to enter in questions there. We'll try to get to them during the webinar. But if we don't, we'll be able to communicate with you by email after and get you answers to those questions. James is here. He will be able to answer the questions while I'm giving this webinar. So
Hello.
we'll get, yeah, right? You on there, James?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, good. So you'll be able to answer questions and we'll get going. All right, so right now, I think we'll just jump right into it. It's a lot to cover, three scenarios, and we'll give you basically an overview of each one and show you the kind of range and flexibility of Crow Canyon's asset and equipment management programs, and also our Nitro Studio and our Teams and SharePoint applications in general. So hopefully it'll be a good overview of what we're doing. And of course, you can always contact us directly anytime for a one-on-one demo. We'll set that up with our sales team, show you what we have, and address your concerns specifically. We'd be glad to do that. Don't hesitate if you got some questions or scenarios that you want to run by us. Okay, so I am, let's see, it's changing here. Yep, I am Scott Restivo, President and CEO of Crow Canyon Software. I've been running the company for over 22 years. We have been doing Microsoft collaboration applications in the Microsoft collaboration space, all the way back to Exchange and public folders, but our work over the last 15 or more years has been on SharePoint and Office 365 and Teams. When as those came out, we jumped on board with them, working in partnership with Microsoft. You can see we're a preferred partner in the business applications world, working closely with them to produce these applications and produce this Nitro Studio forms and workflow solution to give customers, organizations like yours, a lot of power to use SharePoint and Office 365. We're also a certified California small business, and we're on the GSA, the Government Services Administration contract, the federal contract number. If anybody's in government, that's important to note that we're on the GSA, also Schedule 70. What we produce are business applications, a wide variety of them. There's a list on our website, but it's, well, there's another slide coming up. I'll show you that. Then there are Nitro Studio, no-code application platform, and chatbots and apps for Teams. A lot of interest in the chatbots lately, a lot of use of how to use Teams. It's kind of leading edge. A lot of companies aren't there yet, but there's certainly a growing interest in that. So combining these things with the applications, the forms creation, and the chatbots makes a really powerful combination for solving business process automation problems that are out there. We have a number of business applications, as I mentioned. We'll be going over IT help desk and asset management for somewhat today, but we also have a variety of others: facilities, equipment tracking, HR, security, onboarding, contracts, document management, marketing, purchasing, request, all the kind of common functions, core functions of most any organization. We put together based on our Nitro Studio forms and workflow platform that runs on Office 365 and SharePoint. Now, what I want to say though, we run on SharePoint on premises 2013, 2016, 2019, as well as Microsoft Office 365. We're in the commercial cloud in Office 365. We run in the GCC, the government community cloud. And just this summer, we came out with an offering for the GCC High, which is a much more secure version of the Office 365 environment. So we run in just pretty much anything that you have in the Office 365 team space or the SharePoint on-premises space, and we'll be coming out with whatever they come out with the next version of SharePoint on-premises as subscription edition. We keep up with it. So, we're keeping up with all the changes and growth and transformations that Microsoft's going through. We're right along with them and making sure we have these applications ready for you. We have the Nitro Studio Forms and Workflow platform. That's a form designer, visual workflow manager. This gets more and more sophisticated and capable. We use it a lot for InfoPath replacement projects, access forms replacement, Lotus Notes replacement. It really gives a really comprehensive way to manage building the forms and workflows and processes necessary to really provide applications that are useful and practical for your organization and get off that legacy stuff, like InfoPath especially has been a big project for us in the last few years. Just now people are since support ended in summer of InfoPath, people are really clamoring to move off that and find another solution. And Nitro Studio has become one of the leading solutions for that. Anybody who wants to develop stuff on their own, build some forms and workflows, it's a lot of fun to use. Okay, jumping right into the content of this webinar, there's a lot to cover. The first thing we're going to talk about is using the IT help desk and asset management program that we have in Nitro Studio and in the Office 365 world. In this case, this would also run in the SharePoint on-premises world, but with this company's using it in Office 365. It's a distribution company, and they have a dispersed workforce. They have offices in Alaska, Hawaii, and in the Northwest, like Seattle, Portland, and other such cities in the Northwest. They actually distribute beverages, is what they do. So they have a lot going on and a lot to coordinate between each other. They also have a number of remote workers in various locations, like most organizations these days with the COVID situation. There's remote workers all over the place. So they have those to manage. So they found that implementing our help desk and our asset management programs gave them the capabilities to manage that workforce and provide what they needed to keep it under control. Now, the IT asset management program can link to other network inventory tools, so you can keep a good eye on what you have, whether you use SCCM or other type network inventory tools, or MDM, which is mobile device management tools like Microsoft's Intune or Apple's AirWatch. So they're able to keep track of all their IT assets pretty well using our program. We link to a network inventory tool. We can link to databases, bring this all information into one centralized location. Also, we have Microsoft Teams and Nitro Bots capabilities. The Nitro Bots are part of Nitro Studio, and they work inside of Teams. And if you're on Office 365, that's definitely an option to pursue. And I'll show you some of that today, the bot world there. And the mobile capabilities, of course, are important. I mean, critical really these days. So what they get out of this? Well, they got centralized IT management with a comprehensive view of operations, so they can be in one central location and know, even if they're dispersed workforce, whether remote or in some of the outlying offices, they're able to keep a view of the operations, the IT tickets coming in, the assets, who has what, where it's being deployed. Common UI for all users, so that there's a different UI in different situations. Now, what we do have in our program is what's called omni-channel support. That means users can send an email, they can use a portal, they can go to SharePoint, they can use Teams, they can even text. All these different ways of communicating and interacting with the help desk is available to them. But it's a common UI, efficient tracking of assets. They get faster support and responses and resolutions, and a significant savings in time and cost. So what I'm going to do then is I give a little spiel on, like I just did on this distribution company. Then I'll show some of the behind the scenes, what this program really looks like. And then I'll go into the next scenario, which is the nuclear power plant, and then the third scenario, which is the retirement homes in Australia. So this is pretty much out of the box asset management program that we have going on here. This is a screen of a dashboard. Now, what I want to emphasize is that one aspect of our programs is the flexibility and customization capabilities here. If you like to use it how it is out of the box, it can be done, or if you need to link with other databases or revise it in whatever way, it can. So you have basically a dashboard right here. This is our tiles and dials and our reporting and our search, and we put all these together as a way of giving a asset manager's dashboard to work from. Now, the actual list of assets, of course, is here also, and you can see a list of assets right here. And this can be grouped in, SharePoint views, right? You can group, you can sort, you can filter. It's just a straight out list right here. And when you open one up, it's using our Nitro form to display the information. The form has many capabilities. Nitro Forms Designer is what we use to create these forms, and it has tabbing, sections, dynamic capabilities, custom actions, printing, all kinds of ways to make it so that you're getting the information that you need to do your work right there, easily and visible to you. Now, we put in the out of the box program, there's a lot of information here that some of it you may want to use. You may want to say, well, we don't track financial, we don't need to know current value, savage value. Well, then you don't need to use this tab, or you can rearrange it, or we can help you with that. So very flexible. So let's just look at what's here already. We have the ID, title, description, all this asset information, what status it is, make, model, barcode numbers. For barcode, people ask a lot about barcoding. Of course, when we print, that comes out with the actual barcode. This just telling you the number right here. Finance information, you put in images. You can, if it's a computer, then you can decide, put in more information about it. And some of this is what gets pulled in from the network inventory tools, populates these fields like this. Maintenance is very important. What is it? Is something you're going to maintain? Are there related tickets? Are there tasks associated with this? Check in, check out, who's checked it in, who checked it out, and the installed software that's on there, and other related items like manuals, warranties, and contracts. So the very comprehensive view of the asset that's going on here, with the ability to take actions and the ability to link it to other items like tasks and tickets and manuals and warranties. Now, if we look at what's going on behind the scenes, what's powering this up is our Nitro Studio. Our Nitro Studio is right here. It's available. You go right through the dashboard here. You can get to it. Application administration. You get to Nitro Studio, but I already have it up, so it's right here. It's about the asset management program. And in this Nitro Studio, we have forms, workflows, reporting, portals, advanced approval tool, ways to brand the program, the UI, custom actions you can build, email and text sync. So when you send in emails, or text, they can be synchronized with tickets or assets. Email manager, ID columns, when you want to set up a specific ID, linking items together, list, formatting, roll-up, search, viewing, print manager, tiles and dials. And we also have the AI services, bots, modern UI web parts, and Teams integration. So Nitro Studio in and of itself is a webinar that we could give. James gives workshops every month, once or twice a month, on using it and the ins and outs of it and all the cool features of it. So people really jump right in and start using this if they want to build their own applications, or they want to modify an application we give them. Now, you don't have to. You could just use our asset management program or IT help desk out of the box. That's fine too, and people do that. But if you did want to come in and tweak a little bit here and there, change a workflow or change a form, go to our forms designer, and you can come in here and modify, anything using all these controls here. I won't go into all this because this would take up the rest of the webinar, just to show you all the cool actions and interesting things you can do with this workflow manager. But it's very easy to use and very comprehensive, and has a lot of settings that can get it to where you want. Permissions, dynamic, pulling in information from AD or other databases, external data columns, managed columns. I mean, it goes on and on. There's a lot here of how you can arrange this form. So that's the forms designer. We also have the workflows and custom actions. So we can look, they both will run processes on the form. So if you click the button, the custom action runs. The workflows run more on system events like items created or whatever. So let's look at this designer. I'll show you the new designer that we have going here. If we go to the assets here and go in designer mode, this is part of Nitro Studio. People can come in and see an existing workflow if they want, or build their own new one, and they can put in maybe a gateway here, and then it says a decision point, and then different actions. If that happens, then update the status. If something else, send an email. So go over here and put an email in, and then you can configure each of these things to, et cetera, and then easily configure what this action does, that action does, and you can see the flow of the work. So all the user sees is pushing the button up here, such as reassign, escalate, create a task or whatever. They can push the button, and then all this decision trees happen, and this they can go through the process here of what happens. It could be simple or complicated. It might be just simply send an email, or it might be do a bunch of things at once. You can query other lists. You look at all the different actions we have here going on, it's quite a few, including these ones that interact with Teams over here, launch you. So, you know, we built into this over the years what people need to run business process automation. So that's just showing you a little bit, you know, lifting the hood a little, look at the engine. I'm just gonna leave this, you know, don't need to do that. What's underneath this program? So it looks like, oh, it looks like SharePoint. Yeah, it does in some sense, but the thing is, underneath it is a powerful engine of the Nitro Studio that comes with the application. If you want to get Nitro Studio for the whole tenant, you can, or for the whole farm, then build your own stuff, that's fine. But in the asset management program, it's used to build this form and to control the custom actions, check it in, update the status, print, all these different things you can do with it to make it the application function the way it is. Now, as far as what this beverage company, the distribution company is doing, they're tying together their assets, they're checking in, checking out, moving them around, maintaining them, and they're relating them back and forth to tickets. So if I was here in an asset and there was a problem with this, I could create a ticket and I could say, okay, what's the problem with this? What is this? This is a computer, right? So let's just say, I don't know, monitor doesn't work, right? So no matter where the user is, monitor flickers, enters it in, and you know, if they want to put this stuff in, hardware problem on the monitor, and fill it all out, then come in and then put a description and set it. Already filled in the user information, and they could just save it, you know, and send it into the becomes a ticket that's associated with the asset. Over in the all tickets world, this is the help desk system. They could see this ticket arrived. Wait a minute, yeah, over here. So here, monitor flickers right here. So it just showed up right here. So, you know, from the asset or from the help desk, you're creating this and it's going in there. Now, you also can create a ticket from a portal. We have a portal, employee portal, if you want to go there, if you want to provide that to your users. Or also a person can send in an email and create a ticket. There's all kinds of different ways. So this gives them gives the dispersed workforce many different ways to interact with the program, but yet it all goes to the same central location. They can create a new ticket up here, submit a new ticket. They can also use the bot. Here's a new IT ticket in our Nitro bot in Teams. They can enter this in, and it will enter the ticket into the program there. And at the same time, notifying the person that a new ticket's arrived. So many ways to interact with our help desk system to provide what's needed for just different people in different locations with different devices and different ways of interacting with technology. While at the same time, it's all kept in this central database of, you know, back-end SharePoint list where all the assets are here, and the assets are tied to tickets, and the tickets are tied to assets. So we go to all tickets and open up this. It's, you know, it's like you know, you look at it this way, then you look at it that way. So we have here that the related asset is that Dell Inspiron laptop that we just had. So the ticket's related to the asset's related to the ticket. Everything's like one comprehensive 360 view of everything. And whether they use the bot, the portal, SharePoint directly, send in an email, it all comes together into one system. Now, one more thing on the bot before I go on to the nuclear power plant situation. If I am over here in another, okay, where are we? With the other browser, where is it? There is another browser over here that is, where is that? I had another browser up that had, oh, here it is. It's a different icon at the bottom of my screen. Okay, here we go. So now we are in another user. See, these are two different browsers, right? You have to do this to show two different users. This guy's AA and this guy's JR. And AA creates a ticket. It goes into the list. And then JR is a technician, let's say, and he's looking at all unassigned tickets in the bot. So he could look in the back-end SharePoint. He could be in the portal. See, monitor flickers is showing up here in the bot, the Teams bot. So when he goes here, and then he could decide what he wants to do as a technician. He was going to pick it up, mean assign to himself. He can assign it to someone else if he wants. You just put in a person's name and assign it, or he can pick it up for his own, put some information about the work log, and then it becomes registered in the back end that it's now James's, okay, I will work on this. I will work on this. Something like that. I don't know, whatever you want to put there and do okay. And now it's become recorded in the back end. So you have the bot or the ticket, you know, ticket is successfully assigned to you. So let's look at the ticket over here. And you can see that we're going to close this and see if it's been assigned to him properly. Monitor flickers, and staff assigned to James Verstebo because he just picked it up. See, but he doesn't have to go to the back end to do this. It's all there in the bot as well. So just showing you that how the IT help desk and asset management combination here produce enormous amount of efficiency and cost control and smooth operations and common UI. Really a great system powered by our Nitro Studio. And if you, that's something I could do the rest of the webinar just on that, but I want to show these two other scenarios to show the range and capabilities of our assets and equipment. If anyone's interested in IT help desk and asset management programs that we provide like that, then we'll be willing to talk to you. I mean, we'd be happy to talk to you and excited to talk about what your situation is and how we could help. Now, people ask about importing in assets. That's possible. How you link to other databases. That's all that's possible. Keeping track of ordering out assets or everything. Anything you can think of, let us know. We always like hearing about that and what we can do with our really efficient Nitro Studio to make it happen. It's pretty cool. What I'm gonna do now is go to the second item in our showtime here. I already did distribution company. I think the distribution company is kind of similar to a lot of companies these days. You have a dispersed workforce, you have to manage IT and assets. Nuclear power plant's a little bit more of a special situation, right? You could say a little more specialized. But I'm bringing that into it because I want to show that our asset management program not only can provide, the ordinary kind of everyday kind of asset management and IT ticket tracking that's required in most companies, or government agencies for that matter. But we also can meet these very strict requirements and regulations. And this has been a real feather in our cap because they've been using it for over 5 years. It runs SharePoint on premises in this case. They were on 2016 to start, and now they're on 2019. And we've been working hand in hand with them, and they found our program incredibly useful for what they're doing here, which is managing a nuclear power plant, which is no trivial task for sure. They have to meet many strict regulations. And I just want to say they're on SharePoint on premises for the security reasons. If they don't want to be on the cloud. It's a nuclear power plant after all. So they have to comply with these regulations. North American Electric Reliability Corporation. So anybody's in the electricity generation world, all about NERC. NERC is very, very, it's what controls electricity, and thank goodness for it, because that helps us have reliable electricity throughout the whole North America, Canada, and US, both. But they have standards. They've got standards. The standards committee, reliability standards. I mean, you don't just plug your power plant in, and that's it. You got to meet an incredible array of standards. And then think about a nuclear power plant. Well, that's all this stuff times 10. Comprehensive asset management. Just showing some. I just want to give you the breadth and complexity of this managing critical essential assets at a nuclear power plant. There's a lot to it, and it's just you just have to imagine that after some of the disasters that happened, say in 3 Mile Island in 1979 or Chernobyl, and I think it was 1986, those are some in Fukushima. Yeah, the thing is, keeping a nuclear power plant assets up to shape is critically. It's like critically squared. It's totally critically important. If there's something beyond critical, I don't know. To keep these assets in shape. So everybody's keeping an eye on it. NERC, FERC, NRC, Nuclear Regulatory Commission. And so this asset program has to meet some very demanding requirements. And they're audited to ensure compliance. Government regulators, come in and keep track. And the fact that every asset you have to maintain, are you up to the standard? Is it being maintained according to that? And all that's tracked in our system. Like this asset was maintained by so-and-so at this date, and the person did this and replaced this or did that. All that's kept track of by our asset management program. Now, what happens is the asset management ties into document management because there's manuals and policies on how these assets need to be maintained and who has access to them. These manuals are revised. There's revision and approval processes of the revisions. They have to go through certain processes, and that's our document management handles that. So now you not only have assets management going on, you have document management going on also. And then there's an attestation, as they call it, to having read updated documents. That means if a document's revised, there might be, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people who have to attest, it's called, or certify in a sense, that they read the document. And they have to kind of like sign a paper or check a box or something. But it's like an official thing that they know about the new policy that came out. They call that in document attestation in that world. So it's not only revising the policies and manuals and again, the approval of that and updating them, it's also the attestation. And then all along that also is the training that has to go on with this. So all of a sudden you're in the access management world too. So you have the 3 A's, I call it: assets, access, audits. So these three A's come together, triple A there. And you have to do, it's not just assets, now it's audits, managing the audits, and it's managing the access to it. So you can't just let anybody come in and start playing around with the nuclear reactor or something like that. There's all kinds of very strict access, man traps, all kinds of things going on here. But what our program can do is give an access request system that certifies and shows who granted access when to whom and why. We have to do personal risk assessments, background checks, training and retraining, certifications, and all these kinds of things. So I thought in a way to kind of show, now of course I can't show their program because of the security restrictions and all that. And some of us have actually been to that power plant and worked with them directly. But we don't have access directly to the program, but I can show you which is probably a good idea overall, but I can show you an access request system that we have. The asset management system they use is a variation of what I was showing you earlier, but like with a lot more stringency to it, you might say, a lot more workflows and everything that keep track of making sure that maintenance gets done at this time according to these regulations, what they call the SIP standards there on the NERC. So without getting lost in all that bureaucratic stuff or regulatory complexities, I think you can imagine that it's, use your imagination. It's a lot of things to comply with, and each asset not only has to be registered in our system, but it has to be also track the maintenance, access, and who did what when, who replaced when, why they did it, all this kind of stuff they have to track. And that's what makes their audits so much easier, is that when they do audits, there it is, all the information's right there. Just pull it out of our system and run an audit. And the access is the same thing. Well, access request here is an access request system. Looking at the classic view here, and you can see that we have, if you want to do a new access request. Now, this is just a general access request program. It's not specifically for the nuclear power plant, but people use this to manage requests to whatever, databases, or you got all kinds of these applications, databases, facilities, networks, services, vehicles. We put all this in our demo to show you that there's many ways you can configure any of our applications, and this access request one is something you might find useful. So if you want to say someone needs access to a SQL database, we go here. Now notice there's no SQL database tab up here, but when I go this and I choose the database of SQL, it shows up, and then you can put the SQL information in. Already knows who the manager is of the SQL, so it's going to go send a notice to Pavan here about what access they need and all that. Not only that, you can do things like is it an employee or is it a contractor? If a contractor, you can have a list of contractors and pull that information in, and who's a rep, who's the company, and back to employee. I mean, you can modify this so much. You add files, and you can do an add. If you're adding access, you might want to say, okay, now this yellow part showed up. Is it perpetual? Is it temporary? If it's temporary, what's the start and end date? And of course, when there's an end date like that, there's notifications in our system that says, make sure you revoke access or find out why you should extend it before that access expires. So all kinds of interesting tricks we can put in this to make it really functional, and that keeps track of it, of what of the process. Even if you're not in the program, it's going to notice that the expiration date is coming up and the end date of the access is coming up. and therefore it's going to notify people. Same idea with due dates on IT help desk tickets or maintenance due on an asset record. Notify, and we also now have not only notification by email, you can be notified in a Teams channel, or you can be notified by a text also. So we got a wide range of possibilities to do that, to keep the notifications going of expiration dates and the workflow and moving things along. So we know who's asking for it. We've got the SQL details, any tasks related to this. Now, I threw some of this stuff together just to show kind of like what our forms can do and the different controls on it. You have different colors you can see here, the rounded buttons, the different ways we can design this form. So it's partly to show you access requests, and it's partly to show off some of the capabilities of Nitro Studio's form designer. There's a signature field where you can come in and sign it. Of course, it's easier on a mobile device. And then I was showing that you can arrange the tabs, and it's all kinds of different ways you can construct these forms that are really interesting here. Hide tasks, show tasks, kind of things like that. And then you could create tables also. Just a little side segment here about how the access request program can be used to manage access, control access to different devices, and therefore be tied to a particular asset or particular facility or particular vehicle or database or whatever. And then you can control it. But also at the same time, I'm showing that there's a lot you can do with the Nitro form itself, just in the Nitro form designer, to make them real attractive and interesting and useful for people. The dynamic element, different things show up on different things. So anyway, that's access request system there. And it ties in with the assets. It ties in with the auditing, the personal risk assessments, and all those kind of functions for the nuclear power plant situation. It's quite a nice little program we got going in there. Like I said, it runs in SharePoint on premises, but of course it could run just as well in Office 365 if it needed. Okay, that's the access request program, nuclear power plant. Let's see what else we got going for this. Managing different levels of access, showing you that, training, certification. Okay, so you can see that the asset management sometimes goes beyond just simply keeping track of assets. You can go into who has access to them, what kind of audits you need to run, and what kind of document management and training and attestation and all these things. So it depends where you want to go with it. If you just want to keep track of a database of assets, that's fine. That can work. And you can tie it, bring it in from a network inventory. You can tie it to help desk tickets or tasks, whatever, maintenance. Now, one thing I want to distinguish here is this, which kind of important point, is that when we talk about assets, we're using it as kind of a broad term. What we really mean is that there are IT assets, and then there's equipment, and equipment is also considered an asset to some respect. It depends how you want to word it, but I think it's better. The way I look at it, is that IT assets are ones that are connected to a network and discoverable by a network inventory tool of some kind. So therefore, they are computers, routers, printers, and the such like of computer-related equipment. And generally speaking, they don't need that much level of maintenance that, say, a piece of equipment does. Well, equipment, on the other hand, is just about everything else: vehicles, buildings, refrigerators, let's see, manufacturing equipment on machines on the floor. I mean, a whole range of things that people want to keep track of. And these pieces of equipment, differ from IT assets in a very substantial ways. And we have programs to both, of course. And the equipment is something that needs to usually be maintained. You change the filter, change the oil. Calibration's another important part of equipment management. In some cases, you got to calibrate the tools or calibrate the machine. There's also this idea that there is regular maintenance, like every 6 months or every 12 months, but also there's usage levels of maintenance where every 30,000 miles or 500 cycles or whatever like that. So equipment is a little more complex in terms of the maintenance, preventative maintenance and reactive maintenance that goes on in equipment versus IT assets. IT assets is more like tying it to more part of an IT help desk. You're tying it together so that you have a full comprehensive view, just like that distribution company, of where your stuff is, who's using it, and can it be, do I need to order new things? Do I need to replace? Do I need to upgrade? And this is really in the IT world almost entirely. Now, equipment goes out, can be anywhere. And now the next one I'm talking about here in the asset journey, as we call it, is retirement homes. Retirement homes, and this could be anybody who manages a facility. Retirement homes have equipment inside the units. It's like an apartment. They have refrigerators, stoves, microwaves, air conditioning units, heating units. Also, there's a lot of equipment in the common grounds. They might have a cafe or cafeteria or swimming pool or shuffleboard or something like that going on, a hair salon, I don't know, all these different things that also are assets they have to keep track of. And now, if you notice, none of those things really are connected in any kind of networked way. Now, what we are looking at and see possibly in the future is this Internet of Things where the refrigerator talks to the stove and the stove talks to the dishwasher. I don't know. I'm kind of being a little I don't know, chilly about the whole thing, I suppose. But I mean, there may be some real thing where the refrigerator communicates, and I don't know. It's still so new but you can see that at some point these may be some kind of networking going on with these pieces of equipment. But at this point, they're not. So we treat them as all individuals, and they need to be maintained and calibrated and replaced and repaired and all these kind of different things. So what happened is this with the retirement homes in Australia. New South Wales, one of the states of Australia, passed a legislation requiring that every retirement village operator, and there's several, I guess up to 500 or 1,000 of them in this part of Australia, and they have to have an AMP, they call it, an asset management plan. So we have our asset management program for quite some time, and about a year ago, one of the operators came to us and said, hey, Crow Canyon, we like what you're doing with asset management, but can you tweak it to be what is needed to meet these legislative requirements? We'll say, okay, we're up for it. We're up for the challenge. Let's make it happen. So we put together this thing called Asset Journey. Asset Journey is a side brand of Crow Canyon. We are basically the software that run it. We work in conjunction with the group in Sydney Sydney, Australia, that interact directly with the retirement village operators and the community there, but we are the ones creating and providing the software. And it's really interesting how our asset management program took off in this direction, that we could build this fully compliant system that meets the legislative requirements of the New South Wales. And here's what the requirements are. They're right here in the fair trading of the NSW, New South Wales government. You can see that they had all these requirements, right? It's kind of like a statement of work in a way, all these different things they had to do to make it work, to make it meet the requirement. So let's look at what they're talking about here. They have a mandate to have the AMP in place by July 1st. It applies right now to the retirement village operators in New South Wales, but we're expecting that it will go to Queensland and South Australia and Victoria and all the other states, possibly New Zealand. And then we thought about it, the team here at Crow Canyon said, well, this is something that really could apply to any, it doesn't have to be just Australia. The same idea is that you want to keep track of your assets. You want to know what needs to be replaced, what needs to be repaired, and you want to be transparent about it to the residents who ultimately are paying for this. So that's why they have this auditable government tribunal. They call it a tribunal. Checks up, and the same way like the nuclear power plant gets audited, this retirement plans get audited to make sure they have it. Now, here's a trick in a lot of legislation and government regulations. If you have a program in place that looks reasonable and is known, they're going to pretty much already be positive about okay in your audit. If you don't have anything in place, that's already a big mistake and a red flag for them. So the thing with government regulation is that having a system that is in place is very important to survive an audit. So they look at it and say, oh, they already have a Crow Canyon's Asset Journey in place, and it's running this. I've seen it at other places, and I know that this works. Okay, let's just check this A, B, C, and D and make sure they got everything, their ducks in a row here. Okay, they're good to go. If you don't have anything in place at all and you're getting audited, then they're like, well, how are you and how are you meeting these government regulations if you don't have anything like recorded anywhere? And you're like, the operator scratching his head like, I don't know, so you get yourself out of a lot of hot water and fines and troubles if you have a program in place to begin with. So what does it do? They must have an asset register. They must record maintenance tasks and the cost, and they must have these 3-year and 10-year reports, and the reports must be available to residents. And presumably residents will take the time to read it and know what charges they're going to have in the future, and everything's very transparent. And they can also, I guess in a sense, negotiate or talk with them. But the idea is you don't want to replace something that has an effective life of 3 more years just to replace it. You know, there has to be a reason to replace it, such as it's failing all the time, and that is recorded in our maintenance tasks. They can look at it and see all the tickets and trouble that that piece of equipment have and justify the replacement without having, you know, they make the case that this should be replaced earlier than normal because of this and that problem. So it really helps them keep their cost under control, and also keeps everybody kind of on the straight and narrow as far as why we're doing things and how and what. Okay, so there's also a work order option that we could add it on to this. If they just want to meet the bare bones AMP requirements, they don't need the work order part. They can use the maintenance task that's embedded in the AMP. It's kind of simple task management system that's part of the asset management we have. But if they want to go more, they can go the work order option and track time, parts, and costs, assign to outside suppliers, make recurring tasks, integrate with Teams, mobile access, and link to other ERP and invoicing systems. So it depends where they want to go. If they really want to just meet the bare requirements, they can do that. If they want to go more broad, they can implement our work order management system. So let's take a look at that system, because it's kind of interesting to see what they have going on. Where are we now? All assets. Here's AMP assets. Okay, here we go. Bring it over. Asset journey. Asset journey AMPs. Example, they have these different refrigerators. And you can see again that we're using, we're using SharePoint, modern or classic UI, whatever you like. And with our Nitro forms, again, we were able to take this form. It looks similar to our other asset management forms, but here we are having a lot more information because it's required in the reporting. We have to say what type it is, what description, what condition, when's the 10-year plan starts, all this different information about models and serial numbers and blah, 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 where it's located. These are cascading lists, building, location, room, and who's using it, what share, because they have to split it between different departments and the cost. But it really kind of impressive is the maintenance tab. And this is not to make life complicated, but this complies with the legislative mandates that, I've shown you that fair trading site a moment ago. You have to record preventative maintenance tasks, reactive maintenance tasks, the obvious being preventive, meaning, normal routine maintenance, reactive being something that needs repair and broke. All that has to be recorded, the cost and everything else. And then they have to estimate into the future all these things. So I want to bring this into the view in this webinar to show that our asset management plan can be very simple and just keep track of assets. But through the use of our underlying Nitro forms and workflow solution, Nitro Studio, and all the other elements we bring to it, we can create very sophisticated systems that track, like I was talking about, the critical essential assets at a nuclear power plant, which is kind of more of a kind of extreme example, or even meet the requirements of this legislation down there in Australia. And this is what they require. They require to have 10-year estimated cost of repairs and reactive maintenance and actual and, blah, blah, blah. I mean, without digging too into the details, unless you're really interested in this, we can, I have a demo of this later today with somebody in Australia, actually. So, it's very active and people are very interested in it. So it's very cool. And we put our like custom, I mean, it's a lot of fun. So here's the asset with a picture of a refrigerator, I guess. Have a picture there. It has related items like manuals, contracts, warranties, kind of similar to our other one, but much more amped up. This is like the asset management program, a little bit on steroids here. And what comes out of this is that you can run these custom reports is what they want to do here. They want to asset register, they run the report, and the report is very specific to, what is required by the legislation. So, normally we might show this report as a tables or dashboards, or not dashboard, tables or graphs inside of the program, with our Nitro reporting tool. But these guys want these Excel spreadsheets and, distributable to the residents or viewable by the residents. It's coming up on the other screen. So when this Excel loads, I'll show this to you and drag it over. Here it is right here. This is a report of the asset register. It's constructed in this way because this is what the auditors and their legislation requires. So you have all this going on. Let's take this one at the top, for example. This is the asset number. It's a refrigerator. It doesn't specify what room it's in. Serial number, purchased on. They do, Australia or British. They always do the dates. Well, I think we do them backwards. I think they do them backwards, but it's kind of a funny little back and forth we have with them. But that's October 28th in their way of doing this for $1,500. Has a known effective life of 3 years, these refrigerators, according to certain tax tables that they have in the Australian ATO, Australian Tax Office, kind of like our IRS. There's a set depreciation life for each asset, and this one, it's 3 years. It's got 2.9 years left. So you can start to say, well, if our maintenance cost has been exceeded 90% of this cost, then we can replace it before the effective life. And I mean, all kinds of things like that are going on, and these are giving them the information they need and to make these kind of decisions and prove to whoever is checking up on them that this is why they made that decision, and it was valid decision based on data that they kept in there. They can also get the maintenance schedule, estimated schedule, same idea, produces another report. I don't have to go through all these reports, but I'll do this one too. It can be detailed or summary. Again, it's going to show up here on the other page. I think. Yeah, here it is. Now they wanted these in Excel, so that's what we did. So here we are. But again, the same idea where it's listing out all this kind of projections into the future of how much the costs are going to be. And this is good for capital planning. So any of you are into doing equipment or facilities management and want to talk about capital planning and that kind of thing, budgeting, 5-10 years in the future, this is the kind of thing that is built in here and doable with this, little customizations going on. So the asset journey A&P, and then we also have the work order system. Let me see where that is. Maintenance. Well, there's maintenance tasks. Okay. And there's the work order system. I guess I can go over here and show the work order system. Okay, we have the work orders and the work order portals. The work order system is, again, like the ticketing and the help desk that we're showing in the distribution company. There's a back and forth between the work order and the piece of equipment. So same idea, it goes back and forth that, replace this for, this is the asset right here. And it's cleaning the air filters on that asset and set up to do that back and forth. And then there's also this portal, if you want to have your residents enter in tickets, you can have them just go through this portal and replace, they can decide what they want to create a ticket for on that, right? So there's different ways they can, say if it's a heating issue and they can create a ticket for this, it goes to the back-end system as a work order and related asset, and all this stuff is all tied together quite nicely. So you see, it's a very comprehensive system, very well thought out, we hope anyway, and that but we know that it is meeting legislative requirements because it gets audited. And they give a thumbs up, thumbs down, they don't just like approve it out. They take a good look and say, oh, yeah, that'll work. And then they can use it in the different retirement homes down in villages down there. There's a lot of them all over the place in Australia. One other thing that's going on here, I put the bot in place here to show that you can use the Nitro bot even with this equipment and work order system going on here. So if you want a work order, submit a work order in the bot, or submit a work order through Nitro, view the work orders, view open work orders. You can do all this in the bot. You can also search assets and find an asset here. Let's go here. And okay, what I want to search on, how about a dishwasher? How about a Bosch washer, I think is there. I can do a search on that. It's going to come back with some of these a list of these. If I go here to the bot washer, click it, it's going to open up a card that shows more details about it. Now this asset, as you realize, as I clicked it twice, this asset is in the back-end system, RVP008 Bosch washer in room ILU, independent living unit is what ILU means, basically apartment, independent living unit E214. So you open up, view it in the browser. You also add notes, or you can create a task for this right here in the system. So working in the bot, you can do pretty much what you can do inside of the SharePoint backend, and this gives a lot of power to the mobile devices. You use the Teams app and you just use the bot in the Teams app. And hopefully your imagination's running a little like, oh, wow, maybe that bot can be used for this, that, and the other thing, not just this. And so a lot of people are on the leading edge with bots. A lot of people are just starting to, dip their toe in and explore that. And I see it coming more and more into kind of more and more in the mainstream. And we've been working on bots for the past probably 3 years, building these bots. And, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready when you are to go ahead, dude. We built a lot. It's powered by our Nitro Studio workflows in the back end. So if I want to create a task for this asset, well, I could always go here to the actual asset. What number was that again? Anybody remember? 008, RVP 008, RVP 08, this Bosch washer. I go here and create a task like that, right? Here, look at it. Let's look at it at the back end. Kind of like interesting. Here's one view of it in Nitro form. Of course, a lot more comprehensive view, but here it is in, a summary here. And sometimes that's all you need to operate, right? And work and run on this. But here it is. And are there any tasks associated with it? There's a preventive, there's a few here. Okay. But I could create a task in the bot and say, okay, create a task and do something here. Let's see, what do you do with a washer? Let's see, clean the drum. I don't know. Or maybe replace, isn't there like a little rubber thing, replace rubber, the thing that spins the thing, rubber band, I guess it's called rubber band spinner. I don't know, thing. Okay, we'll assign it to Amanda here. And hey, I don't work on Bosch dishwasher, sorry. So I guess it's a washing machine anyway. And then you could, it's already there. So, and then you create the task, right? I think that's the right washer. Let me see. It's another one. So you have to name them so you can pick it out. I think is better. Anyway, hopefully I'm creating it for the right one. And success, there's a new task related to it, and there you go, right? It's coming back saying that. And, now this, one of these Bosch washers has a new task on it. It's, let's see which one it is. Not this one, must be another one then. Close. Anyway, that's a matter of changing, making sure that you got the right naming of these. What I call it? Replace the rubber hose. All right. I'm sure it's here somewhere. I'm gonna make it for the next, make sure that well, anyways, it created it, believe me, there. ILU E214. That'd be, look at the room here. ILU 3214. Oh, be on this one right here. Okay. Yeah. Preventive maintenance test. Anyway, demos are like that. So without wasting your time, I'm sure I'd figure that out in about 2 minutes, but rather than waste your time, I think it's getting near the top of the hour, and hopefully we're able to show you kind of a comprehensive view of how our asset management program, as well as our Nitro Studio and applications, have a enormous range of power and capabilities, and that our interest here is helping your organization manage their assets and equipment better, manage their IT help desk, their service desk, equipment desk, work orders. And we've done that for numerous organizations throughout the world, whether you're on SharePoint on premises, you're in Office 365, the commercial, the GCC, or the GCC High. We're here to help you save some money, improve operations, streamline your processes, and move into the new world. The digital transformation, as they call it, right? Move out of old legacy programs, get more into mobile and cloud, and the power. It's really the power of Nitro Studio, the power of SharePoint and Office 365, and how that can really benefit your organization. Now, James, is there any questions before we, get on, before we hit the top of the hour here? We got about 5 minutes.
I had a question about, could you get the asset management program without the help desk? Because I think that came from early on where you're showing the help desk and the asset.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The asset management program stands by itself entirely. You don't need to have the help desk. A lot of people get them together, but you don't need to. You don't need to at all. And for instance, the critical essential assets, they don't use our help desk. I don't think they're using it, right, James? I think they're just using the asset program.
Just the asset program, yeah. It's just for that specific purpose.
Right, and even in the assets yourself, you can see that there are, I'm in an asset right now, there's tasks you can put here. So you just, instead of tickets, you're doing tasks. And the tasks are just a very simple thing. It's not, the tickets give a lot more power in terms of, custom actions and ways you can escalate and reassign. And tasks are more like, this thing has to be done. I mean, it works, but ticketing gives you more flexibility and power of the ticketing system versus just a simple task management. But either way, yeah. Any other
Mm.
questions there?
No, I think it was pretty well covered. On the topic, I think you covered pretty much all the elements of asset management that you'd want to do. We did get a question coming in about our tasks integrated with Microsoft To Do.
Well,
Microsoft To
let's
Do.
look into that. We'll have to look into that. I suppose. I mean, we run in
Mhm.
Microsoft Office 365 or SharePoint, so we're very much on every type of um, connection we can make is possible. Because see, in our Nitro Studio, when I had that up, you can see in the custom actions, or the same with the workflows that we have. Let me just show so that we can see all the capabilities of the different actions that are available in our that you can bring in here. This is a
Mm.
thing where I kind of, how James, this could be a whole webinar in itself. Just or you actually do workshops sometimes on just some of these, but you see
Yeah,
that
just like one or two of those actions.
you can execute a script, you can invoke a web service, you can invoke another workflow. It can even be one of our workflows or a legacy SharePoint ones or Power Automate workflows. You can query list, you can invoke custom actions, you can invoke Azure functions, parse CSV. Now you just did one recently on invoking the web service, um, and you were going
Yes.
into how anything that has a REST API can pretty much be contacted through our system, and brought in this
Yep.
information
Yeah, if
here.
there's not a direct connection, I mean, this is the way you would do it to make those connections between external resources and SharePoint.
Exactly. And the other thing in our forms designer, we have the external data column that pulls in information also. So, in many ways to slice and dice, to answer to address that question, I guess. And that's where
Mhm.
we like having these conversations because it's like, I mean, we're I would say, I guess we're programmer geeks at some level, and that's what we want to hear these challenges and know how we can build these programs that are going to meet your needs here, and be challenged on it too. We're all for challenges like that and say, hey, can it do this, can it do that?
Right.
We got a lot of that when we are doing InfoPath, remember? It's like,
Oh yeah.
InfoPath does this, can you do that? InfoPath does this, can you do that? So
And now we do.
now I think we pretty much covered everything with that. So you can see the
Yep.
external data column. You can, so just, get in touch and we'll figure it out with you. If we can't, we can't. But most things that are presented to us, we can with our tools that we have and what we built into our Nitro Studio over the years. Quite capable and powerful. Well, if that's it, then it's just about the top of the hour. We'd like to keep it to the 1 hour. People have other things to do, but hopefully it's been important, been useful, practical for you, and showing you the range of what we can do. And we'd really like to hear more if you want to
Mhm.
go more about equipment and asset management in your organization. Anything else, James? Any other question?
Yeah, there's a question that came in about do I need a separate package for IT and one for maintenance? And I
Well,
think the answer there, yeah. Do you want to go
no,
ahead?
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think the answer there, IT help desk is its own element, and then the maintenance tasks within assets can be there as assets standalone. But if you also have the IT help desk, then you can connect your tasks related to your assets within the help desk. You can create help desk tickets, preventive maintenance tickets, things like that from your help desk side. Whereas a maintenance task piece can be used in conjunction with that or separately entirely, right? So you don't even have to create those IT tickets. Um, the question was, sorry, just clarify. The question was about, do you need a separate package for building maintenance versus IT? And I think that's a little trickier to answer that you can have a common assets list for both IT assets and maintenance assets and IT tasks or IT tickets and maintenance tickets. We typically sell them as separate items. We have a work order solution that is kind of geared towards that maintenance world of building maintenance. We have, people customize it, do inspections for hospitals and, things like that, where they go out and go around and have a device where they'll link to it through the mobile device and update their work orders and create new work orders right from their mobile device. You could do that with IT tickets as well. It just gets a little tricky with having two in the same site. Essentially, each of these applications would be its own site. And in that respect, they're kind of be their own package. Not to say it's impossible, it just gets a little tricky to have both in the same place.
Yeah, it's like it also has to do with permissions and who accesses it and what forms. I mean, if there's a commonality between them that both sides, it can, either way, like James is saying, either one could be done, but sometimes it's more convenient to have two separate sites so that you can isolate the information and create forms that are specific to that particular activity, say, of IT versus building maintenance. But
That's right.
it's really depends on what you want to do there, as far as in the need, if there if there's no problem with crossover of the different departments interacting with the same tickets in the same system. So interesting. There's no
Yeah.
definitive answer, I guess. But I think we lean towards what
No,
you
yeah,
said, James, that two sites is generally what happens better. It's a
yeah,
better
exactly.
solution.
Yeah, I think what we can do, we can follow up with the individual afterwards and set up the time to chat more about the needs.
Okay, good. Well, it's great to see so much interest. We had a lot of attendees today, and people are looking to get their assets in order, which is great. It's a big cost. Could be a cost sink for a lot of organizations where assets walk out the door or equipment's not maintained properly. Even if you don't have to meet government compliance and regulatory reasons, there's many compelling reasons just in simple, efficiency of operations and cost control in an organization to keep track of all this in an efficient way. So it all makes sense, and hopefully we'll hear from some of you, and pursue this a little further. But meanwhile, I thank everyone for attending the webinar and taking the time out, and we'll have a recording available. Anyone who wants to see that, and we'll send up follow-up emails. Thank you very much, and James, thank you for helping with the questions.
Sure, no problem.
Okay,
Thanks,
see ya.
everyone.
Okay, bye.